As part of this beginner level Linux course, so far we have gone through quite a few important commands in Linux. In this section or module, we'll be covering a very important concept called as environment variables and variables. Quite often, when you actually run the commands, even though the application is installed, you'll be running into issues such as no command found or no such file or directory. It is because of the environment variables. You need to make sure you understand the concept of environment variables, especially the environment variables such as path. To make sure we understand all the basics related to variables and environment variables, in this sectional module, we'll actually see how to create and print variables using echo. First, we'll understand how to create, and then we should be able to use echo to print the value of the variable. Once we go to the details about variables, then we'll actually get an overview of environment variables in Linux and env command. To make sure we relate to Windows and understand how it is covered as part of the Windows, we'll also go to the details about overview of environment variables in Windows. Then we'll actually review some of the standard environment variables in Linux. We'll also understand the location of commands in Linux using which command. Once we go to those details, we'll be reviewing a very important environment variable called as path, and we will see what happens when we unset path and run the commands. You will understand the importance of the path. It is very, very important for you to understand the importance of the path. We'll be performing quite a few tasks to understand the relevance of path. Also, we'll go to the details about overview of profile and RC in Linux, which will actually control the behavior of your environment, and also it will impact your environment variables, and hence it is important for us to explore those details as well. We'll also create simple shell script and grant execute permissions in Linux, and then we will see how to update path and make sure the shell script can be run from anywhere in the Linux system. This will actually take care of getting you required understanding related to the environment variables, especially the environment variables such as path. By the end of the sectional module, you will have fair understanding about variables and environment variables. If not, if you stuck anywhere, feel free to reach out to us. We'll be there to support you. It is very, very important for you to understand the concept of variables and environment variables in Linux so that you can troubleshoot and fix the issues related to your applications you are supporting as part of Linux environment. As part of this sectional module, we are going through the details related to variables and environment variables in Linux. In this lecture, let's understand what is variable mean. When it comes to any operating system or any scripting language or programming language, we have something called as constants and variables. First, let's understand what is a constant. ITversity, which is nothing but our company name, is a constant. Same is the case with 0, 1, etc. These are numeric values. ITversity is of type string value. However, these are all constants only. Now, you can have either ITversity or analytics or some other thing as a company name. Instead of having these hard-coded values, we might end up creating variables. Variable will contain constant depending upon the context. So company can be a variable name. ITversity can be one of the company names. ITversity is constant. Same is the case with age. Age can be a variable. It can be my age or your age. My age, let's say, is close to 40, and age can be 40 in my case. In your case, it can be 30. 40 or 30 are literals or constants, whereas age is nothing but a variable. Now, let's understand how to define variables as part of Linux terminals. It is very straightforward. If you want to create a variable by name company, you just have to say company, then equal. You don't even need to specify single quotes for strings when it comes to Linux. In most of the programming languages, you have to either use single quotes or double quotes while assigning a string literal to a variable. When it comes to Linux, you don't need to do so. You just have to define the value, hit enter. Now company is created as variable. Same is the case with age. Let's say age equal to 0. Now age is the variable which contain 0 value in it. Now once the variables are created, if you want to just display the value in the variable, you have to use echo, then dollar, then followed by the variable from which you wanted to display the value. For example, you can say age. It will display the value of age variable. It is nothing but 0. You can see the 0 here. It is not completely visible. Now let's say company, which is another variable. You should be able to see the value of the company variable here. If you do not have dollar, let's see what happens. Let's say echo greet. It just displayed. It have considered it as a string itself. However, if greet is supposed to be a variable with values such as hello, it can be like this. There is no need to specify single quotes. Now I can say echo $greet. You can see the value related to this variable. Once again, if you do not have dollar, then it will just treat greet as a string or constant value, and you can see that it have printed constant value here. This is how you should be able to create variables and also print them. However, keep in mind that you will not be able to create variables by having spaces in between. In most of the programming languages, as a best practice, we typically specify spaces when it comes to the equal operator, using which we are trying to assign a value to the variable. Now, you see, I introduced these spaces around equal, and now it is considering greet as a command. And it is complaining saying command greet not found. Did you mean command greet from deb greet, so and so forth, which is not right. Which means when it comes to defining variables in Linux, we should not be having spaces around equal where the literal is being assigned to a variable. In this case, hello is being assigned to a variable called as greet. This is how you should be able to create a variable in Linux. Variable name equal to without spaces around equal, then the value which you want to assign. Also, you should be able to have strings in single quotes or double quotes. Now let me say greet hello with single quotes. Now let's say echo $greet and see how the value will be displayed. You see, when hello is displayed, there are no single quotes around it, which means whether you have single quotes or not, it doesn't matter. Even you can replace these single quotes with double quotes. Let me say hello with double quotes like this. Then if you say echo $greet, you can actually see the output of that variable. The variable contain hello in it. That being said, as part of the process, I try to echo greet without T at the end. You can see here, there's no variable with that name and it didn't print anything. So if there is no variable with the name that is being passed after $, it will just print blank. For example, let's try one more thing here, echo $aged. Where there is no variable by name aged, you can see that it didn't print anything, which means it is blank. This is how you should be able to create variables and see the contents of the variables using echo command. As part of this sectional module, we are going through the details related to variables and environment variables in Linux. In the previous lecture, we have gone through the details related to variables in Linux. Now it is time for us to explore what environment variable is all about. As name suggests, environment variable is nothing but a variable. However, there is also environment in it. It actually means that it controls the environment of the user that is being logged in at a given point in time. As of now, using terminal, the user that is logged in is nothing but this one. The reason why you are seeing these in green color, then colon, then tilde in a blue color, then dollar is because of the environment variables. Even the highlight is because of the environment variables. To get all the current environment variables, you can actually use command called as env. It will give all the environment variables associated with the session when the session is launched using this user. Each and every information you see here is because of these environment variables. We'll go through the environment variables shortly. I'll be covering all the important environment variables in multiple lectures. But before getting into the details related to these important environment variables, let's understand the difference between a typical variable and environment variable. A typical variable is created like this. For example, let's say I would like to create a typical variable by name greet. Let's say I would like to assign hello to it. Now hello is assigned to the greet. Now variable greet is created. I should be able to say echo then $greet. I should be able to see the value here. However, if I say env, you will not be seeing environment variable by name greet in it. You can see all the environment variables that are associated with this session, but there is no greet in it. If you are not sure and if it is actually returning too many environment variables, then all you need to do is pipe the output of env to grep and try to find greet in it. You see, there is no environment variable created because greet is just a typical variable. Now, to make it environment variable, you have to export. If you say export, then it will be exported as environment variable. So in this case, I can say export. Let's say greet in uppercase. Typically, environment variables we define using uppercase. It is just a best practice. It is not required the environment variables to be in uppercase like this. But it is a best practice, and hence I am actually using greet in uppercase with respect to environment variable by name greet. Now I should be able to say equal to. The value can be of any case. In this case, let's say hi. Now the environment variable is added. You can validate by saying env, then grep greet you can see the environment variable and its corresponding value. With respect to printing the environment variable values, you should be able to say echo and then dollar, and you should be able to pass the variable name or environment variable name. You should be able to see the value. This is for environment variable name greet. This is for regular variable name greet. Both of them are returning without any issues. Whether it is a variable or environment variable, it will actually print when we use echo like this. So environment variable is nothing but a special type of variable which is created by using export. If you don't use export, then it is regular variable. As we have understood the concept of variable as well as the environment variable, now it is time for us to explore some of the important environment variables that controls the behavior of the sessions that are logged in by a specific user. Also keep in mind that environment variables are relevant even in Windows. As part of the next lecture, first let's go through the environment variables in Windows, then we'll actually get into the details about important environment variables in Linux. As part of this sectional module, we are going through the details related to variables and environment variables in Linux. At this time, we are talking about environment variables. We have already seen the overview of environment variables in Linux. Now let's go to the details about environment variables in Windows. In case if you would like to see the environment variables related to Windows, all you need to do is you can go to the search bar. Then you should be able to search for environment variables here. There is a typo. Let me fix the typo. You see here, it is saying edit the system environment variables and also environment variables for your account. Typically, we deal with system environment variables. You can click on it. It will take you to this. Now you should be able to click on this to actually review the environment variables. These are the user variables. These are the system variables. You should be able to manipulate these things to control the behavior of the environment of the user that is logged in into this Windows system. Now this is how you should be able to access environment variables using the wizard. All you need to do is you just have to go to the search bar, then search for environment variables and click on this edit the system environment variables. It will open the wizard. You just have to click on it. Then you should be able to access system variables here and user variables here. Now you see there are quite a few environment variables. One of the important ones is nothing but path. Now let me cancel and cancel. Now let me open PowerShell. You should be able to access the environment variables even using PowerShell or DOS prompt. In Linux, it is nothing but echo dollar and then you can actually specify the environment variable name or variable name. You should be able to see the value of that environment variable or variable. When it comes to Windows, the command is nothing but $env : the environment variable name. In this case, the environment variable names can be case insensitive, which means you can specify the variable names in any case. It can be lowercase, it can be uppercase, or it can be even mixed case. So in this case, I can actually say path to get the value of environment variable by name path. You can see the value related to this environment variable. This is how you should be able to access environment variables in Windows, both by using wizards such as what we have seen earlier, which is nothing but this one, and also as part of the PowerShell or even DOS prompt, we should be able to use this approach to print the content of the environment variables. As we got overview of environment variables, let's go to the details about some of the important environment variables using Linux as operating system. I'll be covering quite a few environment variables such as user, home, path, so on and so forth using Linux as operating system. It is very, very important for you to understand the relevance of all these important environment variables. Make sure you spend time and understand all these details. As part of this sectional module, we are going through the details related to variables and environment variables in Linux. Already we have gone through the details about what is variable and also what is an environment variable. Now it is time for us to explore some of the important environment variables. In this lecture, I'll cover some of the important environment variables such as $home, $user, etc. We'll also go through the details about environment variables such as path and all as part of the subsequent lectures in this section. Now to get all the environment variables in Linux, you just have to say env and hit enter. You should be able to see all the environment variables here. If you look at this environment variable called as user, it is actually pointing to the user that is used to log in into this session. It is nothing but this one. This is the user that is used to log in into this system as part of this session. Automatically, the environment variable user will be created. Now you should be able to say echo $user and you should be able to get the details about the user that is logged in into the system. This comes handy when it comes to scripting. Instead of hard coding the username, we should be able to use $user to access certain files in temp folder or home folder, etc. For example, if there is a folder by name temp, then D Gadraju, And also for each and every user, if there is a temporary folder with that username, once you log in using that specific user, if you want to access that folder as part of the scripts, you should be able to say something like this: ls-ltr tmp. Instead of hard coding saying D Gadiraju, we can actually say $user. You can see that it is able to get the details from that folder. As of now, that folder doesn't contain anything. That's why it is written nothing here. So $user is resolved into the user that is used to log in into the system. On top of this, there are also other environment variables. You can scroll up and review. There are other important environment variables such as shell, which actually tell which shell is associated with this session, and also name, which is nothing but host name, pwd, which is nothing but parent working directory. Every time you change a directory, it will actually change the value of the environment variable pwd. Log name is nothing but login name. Home is nothing but home directory. So in this case, I can actually say echo $shell to get the current shell associated with this session. You can see that it is nothing but bin bash. You can also say echo $name to get the name of the server into which we have logged in. You can see the details here. Whatever you are seeing here is displayed here. Also, you can get the details about the home directory by saying echo $home. You can see the details about the home directory. Now, let's say we would like to get into the data folder. Before getting into the data folder, let's see the value for the environment variable pwd. You can see that it is /home/dgadiraju because we are in that directory. You can see the output of pwd command. It is same as what we have seen with respect to echo $pwd. Now, let me get into the data folder. Now, let's say echo $pwd. The environment variable will automatically be updated internally. It is taken care by running certain programs whenever we invoke commands such as cd. So instead of just letting us into that folder when we use cd, it will also update environment variables such as pwd so that it is reflected with the value that is relevant to that directory. Like this, there are quite a few important environment variables. You might end up seeing these as part of the scripts and commands. It will facilitate you to understand the relevance of these if you know what they actually mean. On top of these things, there is also a very important environment variable which every developer, every support engineer should be familiar with. It is nothing but path. I will cover the details related to path in multiple lectures in this sectional module. It is very, very important for you to understand the relevance of path. It will facilitate you to troubleshoot quite a few issues over a period of time. Make sure you understand all the details with respect to the path. As part of this sectional module, we are going through the details related to variables and environment variables in Linux. So far, we have understood the meaning of variable and also environment variable. And then we have actually reviewed some of the standard environment variables such as home, user, name, pwd, etc. Now it is time for us to explore a very important environment variable called as path. However, before getting into path, we need to understand from where the commands are being executed. In that process, we'll explore a very important command called as which will give us the details about from where the program is being executed. So far, we have ran commands such as ls to list the files, find to find the files, mkdir to create a folder, rm to remove the files or folders, cp to copy the files or folders, mv to move files or folders, so on and so forth. We have executed quite a lot of commands as part of this course. Now, from where these programs are being executed. To get the details about the location of these programs in Linux file system, we should be able to use which command. So we can say which, then the command name. It will give us the details about where the actual command is. The actual command is under /user/bin/ls. You can actually run ls-ltr on /user/bin/ls and you can actually see the details. It is executable. You can see there is execute on top of user bin ls. The owner of this file is nothing but root. Root have read, write as well as execute permissions. The members in the group, which is again root, have read and execute. All others have read and execute. All the users such as D Gadiraju and any other user that is being created here will be just reading and executing using this command. We will not be writing and hence write permissions are not relevant. As long as we have read and execute permissions on this command, we should be able to use it. You can also say which find. Again, you can say ls-ltr and then user bin find. You should be able to see the properties of this file. Even find is part of user bin find only. Most of the standard commands which we use on regular basis will be under user bin. There might be some other commands which we have set up over a period of time which might not be part of this location. It can be some other location. However, we will not be able to use those things directly. That's where we have to update the path variable. how the paths which you are seeing here is relevant to path environment variable, that I'll be covering as part of the next lecture. As of now, make sure you understand that you can use which command to understand the location of the command that is being executed, such as ls, find, etc. Then you should be able to list the properties of that file by using ls-ltr like this. Now it is time for us to understand how it is relevant to path. Even though the fully qualified path for ls is this one and find is this one, why they are working even when we do not specify the fully qualified path? When we just say ls, why it is running? When we just say find, why it is running? We need to understand, and for that we need to have better understanding about a very important environment variable called as path. We'll be talking about those details in subsequent lectures in this sectional module. As part of this sectional module, we are going to the details related to variables and environment variables in Linux. After going to the details about variable and environment variable, we have reviewed some of the important and standard environment variables. Now we are actually exploring the path environment variable. Already we have seen how to get the location of commands that are being run in Linux, such as ls, find, etc. using something called as which. Now we need to understand how these are relevant to path. Path is environment variable which is there. You can actually say env, then grep path. You should be able to see the details about path environment variable as part of the output of env. You can also get the details of path environment variable by saying echo $path. You can see the output here. Now I'll be performing quite a few tasks so that you understand path in detail. First, I'll be actually unsetting this path environment variable. For that, we should be able to say unset. Unset is a command which is available to unset any environment variable. Let's say path. Now path is unset. You can actually say echo $path. You can see that there is no content with respect to environment variable called as path. Now if you try to say ls, you see it is complaining saying no such file or directory. Think about why it is actually complaining like this. I'll be covering why it is complaining like this as part of the next lecture. So in this lecture, after going through the details about where we stand as of now, we have reviewed the contents of the path environment variable. We have used two approaches to review. One is output of env is passed to grep with path, and we can actually see the value for the path environment variable. And also by saying echo $path, we are able to see the actual content of the environment variable called as path. Then we have unset path, and then when we try to run commands such as ls, find, etc., it is actually complaining saying no such file or directory. Why it is complaining like that? Let's go to the details as part of the next lecture. As part of the sectional module, we are going to the details related to variables and environment variables in Linux. After briefly going through the details about variable and environment variable, we are actually going to the details about path. Already we have seen that the ls command path is nothing but user bin ls. When it comes to the find, the path is nothing but user bin find. Now earlier the commands are working without any issues. You can see the details here. I am able to use ls-ltr and I am able to see the output. However, after unsetting the path, we are not able to run these commands. Neither ls nor find are working. Earlier they used to work. Now in this case, I haven't specified the fully qualified path for these commands, and hence it is not working. After unsetting path, let's see if we specify fully qualified path whether we'll be able to run these commands or not. The fully qualified path for ls is nothing but user bin ls. Fully qualified path for find is nothing but user bin find. So instead of saying just ls or find, let me say user, then bin, then ls, then -ltr. Now you can see the output. In the similar manner, you can actually say user bin find, then say data. You can see that it is working fine. However, if I just say find or ls, it is not working. Why it was working earlier and why it is not working now? That's where the path comes into picture. Now let me exit from here. As of now, I'm not trying to set the path. I'm just exiting from here. Now let me get into the system once again by saying WSL. Let me go to the home directory. Now let me say env, then grep path, then run it. We can see the path value as it was earlier. So the unset was only for that session. Now it is back to its original value. You can also say echo $path. You should be able to see the value related to the path by saying echo $path. Now I should be able to say ls-ltr. It will work without any issue. Why it is working? If you look at the path and if you compare the location of the ls, which is nothing but user bin ls, as part of the path, you can see entry related to user bin here, which means it is actually going through all these locations and it is actually looking for these programs, ls, find, etc. If it can find these programs or applications under these folders, automatically they will be picked and they will be run without any issues. That's how it is actually working without any gaps. For example, in this case, let's say I would like to change this program name from ls to something else. I should be able to do so, but you should avoid it. ls is meant for listing the files. Don't change the names of the files just to experiment. As of now, because user bin is part of the path, it is working without any issues. Now let me actually say export then path equal to, instead of unsetting, I'm actually exporting the path. Now I'll skip user bin and I'll include rest of the stuff. So let me copy from here to here. Let me paste. Make sure you copy paste carefully. Then I don't want to include user bin. Let me copy and paste the rest of the stuff. So except for user bin, I have copy pasted rest of the stuff as part of the path. Now path doesn't contain user bin. We can validate by saying echo $path. You can see that there is no user bin here. After user local sbin, user local bin, we directly got into user bin. Let me see here. This is the export statement. We have to compare with this one. So let me scroll up a little bit here. After user sbin, there is no user bin as part of this output. It is directly sbin. Now let me say which ls. Still it will work because there is ls under bin also. You can say ls-ltr, then bin ls. You can see the ls under bin. As ls is there under bin, even though user bin is removed, we'll be able to run without any issues. If you review, as part of the original path, bin is after user bin. Let me scroll up a little bit here. This is the original path. If you look at this, after user sbin, you have user bin, then sbin, then bin. So bin comes after user bin. Now it will actually pick the file from the first path that is displayed. However, if it is missing, then it will actually pick from the next one. Now if I actually copy this one and then say export, then path equal to, then paste it. Now hit enter. It includes user bin, then even we have bin. Now if I say which ls, you see it is coming from user bin. So the way it will work is whenever you run commands such as ls, it will actually go through each and every path that is specified under path. Wherever it get the command for the first time, it will use it. So in this case, after going through the local bin under home directory, then user local sbin, then user local bin, then user sbin, then user bin, it will find that there is a ls in this location. Immediately it will execute. It will stop searching for ls command in rest of the paths that are specified under path. However, if user bin is missing, then it will go through sbin and then bin. As bin contain ls, it will actually get ls from there and it will execute. That's how the directories that are specified under path will be used whenever we run any command in Linux. If we just specify commands like this without fully qualified path, it will go through the path environment variable. However, if you specify the fully qualified path such as user bin ls or bin ls, it will directly execute that command. Path will not be relevant in those scenarios. Keep in mind that whenever we install new applications, if there are commands that are supposed to be run from anywhere, we might end up updating the path environment variable, then only it will work. Otherwise, it will not work. Path is very, very important. So keep in mind and understand all the nuances related to path. It will come handy in troubleshooting the issues. As part of this sectional module, we are going through the details related to variables and environment variables in Linux. At this time, we are talking about a very important environment variable called as path. Before getting into the details about how to add our applications to the environment variable called as path, let's focus on profile and bash RC. As part of Linux operating system, whenever we log in into a specific session, in that session, the behavior is controlled by these two files. One is RC, second one is profile. Based upon the type of shell that is being used, it will execute those two and it will take it further. To get the details about those hidden files, you can actually say ls-a and hit enter. You can review all the hidden files here. You have something called as .bashrc. You can see here. On top of it, either you will be having .bash_profile or profile. You can see the .profile here. So .bashrc and .profile are the ones which will actually control the behavior of your session. Let's review the contents of these files. Let me say cat.bashrc. You can see that it have a shell script. it have few aliases such as ll equal to ls hyphen alf, LA equal to ls hyphen capital A, L equal to ls hyphen capital C capital F. So instead of saying ls space hyphen ALF, you can actually say LL. It will behave the same way as ls hyphen ALF. Let me demonstrate here. I am saying LL. You can see that it is actually displaying the properties of the files, and also for directories it is actually showing like this. It is because of the behavior of ls space hyphen ALF. Because we have A in it, we are also seeing the hidden files. Also, now if I say L, you can see that it is listing the files. It is because of the command that is pointing to alias L. Let's review once again. For that, I'm actually saying cat.bashrc. This will be executed when the login happens into the system using this user, and whatever is there as part of this shell script, all these things will be in effect in the session. You can also see that I have provided alias for rm-i as rm, so that the files are not accidentally deleted. That being said, we also have .profile. Let's review the details about .profile. If you look at .profile, it is actually executing $home/.bashrc, which is nothing but the script which we have seen earlier. The reason why .bashrc is being executed is because of this logic in the .profile. If you delete the .profile file, then the behavior will be altered. Let me demonstrate so that you understand what I'm talking about here. I'm actually saying mv, then .profile, then I'm actually saying .profile.bkp, so that the backup is created. Now the backup is created, the original .profile is gone. If you say cat.profile, it will say no such file or directory. Now let me exit. Now let me try logging in once again using WSL. Now you see the behavior is changed. Instead of highlighting the colors and all, it is white because of the lack of .profile. So .bashrc is not executed. Now let me say cd ls-ltr. We can actually see the details of the files and folders here, but the behavior is only black and white because .profile is not executed. Also, let's cat .bashrc. You can see that there are quite a few aliases. There is alias LL, LA, L, and also RM. Let's say alias RM to see if the alias is created or not. You can see that it is complaining RM not found, which means the alias is not available here. It is because .profile is missing. We have .profile.backup, but no .profile. As part of the .profile, we have the reference to .bashrc. Only when .bashrc is executed, you will be seeing these aliases. Now let me say mv.profile.bkp, then .profile. Now the .profile is recreated. Now let me exit from here. Then let me say WSL to get into the Linux operating system here. And you can see now the colors are displayed because .profile is executed. Now I should be able to say alias RM. This time it is working as expected. Let's reiterate what is going on whenever we try to log in. Let me exit from here. Let me say WSL. When we try to log in into specific Linux-based server, first it will try to execute profile. In this case, the profile is nothing but .profile. Depending upon your environment, the profile name might be different. Whatever logic that is there as part of the .profile will be executed automatically. Now let me go to the home directory. Let me cat .profile. As part of the .profile, it has some logic, but it is actually invoking .bashrc if it exists. You can see that it is actually checking if the file exists. If it exists, then it is actually invoking .bashrc. If you look at the logic in .bashrc, it has several alias commands to actually create aliases for ls-alf as ll, ls-a as la, so and so forth. And also it have quite a few other stuff. All these things will be executed, which will give you the experience which you are getting when you log in. So internally, it is invoking profile, which is invoking bashrc, and based upon the logic that is there, we are actually seeing the behavior of our sessions. You can see that as part of .bashrc, it is also executing scripts such as bash aliases and also few other things. There is also something called as bash completion under etc. Even those are getting executed. So there will be quite a few scripts that will be executed whenever you try to log in into a specific system. Now, why we are talking about profile and bashrc when we are talking about path? You will be understanding those details by end of next few lectures. First, let's go ahead and create a program. Then we'll actually add that program to the path. Then we'll actually get into the details about making sure how to leverage the .bashrc or .profile to make this program which we are developing available across the sessions. Let's start with a simple program and then we'll take it further. As part of the sectional module, we are going through the details related to variables and environment variables in Linux. At this time, we are talking about path environment variable. Already we have gone through the details about path environment variable. As of now, the path environment variable have reference to all these paths. Whenever we run commands such as ls, find, etc., it will go through all these paths, and if it is able to find those commands, it will execute. Otherwise, it will complain saying that no such command or no such file or directory. That being said, at times we might want to add our custom applications as well, so that we can run the custom applications from anywhere. Let's start with creating a simple custom application, then we'll take it further. Keep in mind that at this time we are not talking about shell scripting in detail, and hence I'll be developing a very simple custom application. For that, I'm actually getting into demo folder. I have already created it. If you do not have demo folder, you can use mkdir command and you should be able to create demo folder. That being said, now I should be able to say echo, then echo hello world. Let me see if it is working as expected or not. It is actually printing echo hello world. Now I can actually redirect to a file. In this case, I am going to name it as hw.sh. Now let's say cat hw.sh. You can see the content of this file. To execute, you can actually say source hw.sh or even sh hw.sh. You can see the output of this command. Now, if you look at the permissions on this file, the owner have read and write, the members in the group have read only, the others also have read only permissions. Now, I would like to add execute permissions so that we'll be able to execute as a shell application. For that, all we need to do is use chmod, then plus x to add execute permissions, then say hw.sh. Now you can actually say ls-ltr. Now you can see that there are execute permissions on hw.sh. Now I should be able to execute by saying /hw.sh. You can see that it have executed without any issues. Now you can execute this either by using relative path or fully qualified path. Without that, you will not be able to execute. For example, if I go to the parent folder, which is nothing but this one, the parent folder for demo is nothing but this one. Now hw.sh is not in this folder, and hence I will not be able to say /hw.sh. It will not work. It is complaining saying no such file or directory. However, I will be able to use relative path. In this case, the relative path is nothing but demo, then hw.sh. Now it will work. Also, you can use the fully qualified path. The fully qualified path is nothing but /home/dgadraju demo, then hw.sh, it will work. But if you just say hw.sh, it will not work. This is where you should be able to update the path environment variable. Once you update the path environment variable, you should be able to execute this from anywhere. Let's go through the details about how to update the path environment variable so that hw.sh can be executed from anywhere. Those details will be covered as part of the next lecture. As part of the sectional module, we are going through the details about variables and environment variables in Linux. At this time, we are talking about updating the path after creating a custom application. Already the custom application is there. The location for the custom application is nothing but this one. Even though the application is there, when we try to run hw.sh, it is not working. It is complaining by saying command not found. Why it is complaining even though the script is there? Because if you look at the $path, as part of the path variable, there is no folder which have hw.sh. All these folders which you can see here have other programs but not hw.sh. Now, if you are able to update this path environment variable with this location, then we will be able to execute hw.sh from anywhere. As part of this lecture, we'll be focusing on how to add this path to path environment variable. Keep in mind that we should not be replacing the existing content of the path variable. We should be appending to the one which is already there. In this case, path have this value. If you just say export, so the way you can actually update the environment variable path is like this. You have to use export command and then you have to say path, then equal to, then you should be able to refer to the existing value by saying $path, then colon, then you should be able to append this. Keep in mind that you have to only include the folder which contain the executables, not the path of the executable itself. If you try to add the path of the executable, then it might not work. Let me copy this, let me paste. Now let me hit enter. Let's make sure that this one have hw.sh. For that we should be able to say ls-ltr, then paste. You can see that it contains hw.sh. Now we should be able to run hw.sh from anywhere. You can see that it is returning hello world. What have happened internally when we run hw.sh, it have gone through each and every path that is there under path environment variable. If it could find the hw.sh, it executes. if it could not find, it will fail. For example, instead of saying hw.sh, let's say hw1.sh. Now you can see that it is complaining saying hw1.sh command not found. Let's say cp, then demo, then hw.sh, then demo, then hw1.sh. So I have created copy of hw.sh as hw1.sh. As home Digazraju demo, which contain these two applications, is already added to the path. Now even hw1.sh will work without any issues. You can see here. That being said, if you just replace the existing path, then hw.sh might work, but the rest of the commands will not work. Now let me say export. In this case, I'm saying path equal to. While assigning, you should not be having dollar here. You just have to specify the variable name, which is nothing but path. Then you can actually say home Digazraju demo. Let me copy this. Now let me paste. Now path is replaced with this value. You can validate by saying echo $path. You can see that it only have home Digazraju demo. Now if I say hw.sh or hw1.sh, it might work. But if I say ls-ltr, it will not work. It is because path doesn't have the reference to those folders where ls command exists. Now we should be able to copy this. Let's copy this. Now let's say export path equal to, paste it, then append home Digazraju demo to it. Then both will work. Let me paste. Now path contain all the paths where we have standard executables, including home Digazraju demo. Now we should be able to say ls-ltr, it will work. Also we can say hw.sh or hw1.sh, it will work. Now if I exit from here, and then if I get into the session once again by using wsl command or by logging in using sh, now if I say hw.sh, it doesn't work. It is because when we actually use export to update the path, only for that session, the path is updated. Now, if I say echo $path, you can see that there is no reference to home Digazraju demo folder. It is because of that when we say hw.sh or hw1.sh, it will complain saying command not found. Again, you can actually use export command by saying export path equal to $path, then colon, then home Digazraju demo. Now it will work. However, it is not practical for us to export every time after logging in. To make sure the path is updated every time we log in, we need to update either .profile or .bashrc. Let's go through those details as part of the next lecture. As part of the next lecture, we will see how to add this path to environment variable path for all the sessions by updating .profile or .bashrc. Once we are done with it, we'll understand how to make sure that the custom applications or even the applications that are downloaded from the internet, the executables related to those can be made available across all the sessions from anywhere in the file system. As part of the sectional module, we are going through the details related to variables and environment variables in Linux. At this time, we are talking about dealing with path environment variable. Already we have seen how path is actually used while running the applications. Also, we have created a sample shell script, and then we have updated the path in a particular session using export. Once you use export like this, you will be able to run the application without any issues as long as the path related to this application is appended to the path environment variable. As home Digazraju demo, which contain hw.sh or hw1.sh, is added to the path, it is working as expected. However, if we come out of this session and if we log in again into this system, then if we try to run hw.sh or hw1.sh, it will not work. It is because the path environment variable doesn't have the reference to that location. As part of this lecture, let's go ahead and understand how to update .bashrc or .profile with the additional path which contain these programs. The path which contain these programs is nothing but demo folder under home directory of this user. The complete path is nothing but /home /Digazraju/demo. Then the fully qualified path of hw.sh is nothing but hw.sh with the path of the folder which contains the script. In the similar manner, the fully qualified path for hw1.sh is nothing but this one. Now both the commands are working without any issues. We need to make sure we copy the path which contain these files. We should not be copying the path of the file itself. Once it is copied, then we should be able to open .profile. You can also open .bashrc and update .bashrc, but it is not recommended to update .bashrc. It is better to deal with these changes using .profile or .bash profile, whatever is relevant for your operating system and for your environment. In this case, with Ubuntu 20.04, where we are using standard one, we have to deal with .profile. Now we can actually go to the last line here and then add export path equal to $path. So we need to make sure we read the current value of the path, then colon. You need to make sure you add colon so that the new value is appended. Now we should be able to paste. Now you can save and come out of it. Even though .profile is updated, as we are already logged in into this system, the path environment variable will not be updated. For that reason, even if we say hw.sh, it will not work. You can see that it is complaining saying command not found. You can validate the path value by saying $path like this. You can see there is no reference to /home/dgadraju/demo. Now there are two ways to make sure $path is updated. One, you can actually run the profile script. The way you can run the profile script is like this. You have to say dot, then space, then tilde/.profile, which is nothing but fully qualified path of the .profile. This is one of the ways to execute the script and update the current session. Or you can also exit and log in back. Even when you log in back, .profile will be executed automatically for you. Path variable will be updated as per the instruction that is there under .profile. I'm hitting Ctrl C. I haven't run this. Let me exit. Now let me log in once again by using WSL. You can also use regular sh command to log in. Now let's say cd. Now let's say hw.sh. You can see that it is working as expected. You can also validate hw1.sh. Even this one is working. Now we can also say echo $path. Hit enter. You can see the path being appended to this. This is how you should be able to take care of updating the environment variable path across all the sessions by using .profile. If you look at the changes that are done to .profile, towards the end of the .profile, we have added this export statement. If you are not comfortable with VA Editor to make these changes, make sure to use Nano Editor. Nano Editor is a little bit straightforward. VA Editor is a little bit complicated for beginners. That being said, make sure you take the backup of .profile before manipulating the .profile. In case if the .profile is corrupted, you should be able to delete the .profile and restore from the backup. The way you can take the backup is by using cp command. You can say cp .profile, then .profile.bkp, so that you have the backup of the original .profile. In case if your .profile is corrupted, you should be able to restore from this .profile.bkp at any point in time. That being said, make sure you really understand the relevance of .profile, and also make sure you understand the importance of updating the path environment variable as part of the .profile in the pursuit of making the custom applications or the applications that are downloaded from the internet available across all the sessions so that they can be run from anywhere in the file system. It is very, very important for you to understand the relevance of .profile. Even if you do not update the .profile, many times you might have to support the applications. You might run into issues such as command not found and all. You can troubleshoot from the perspective of not having the environment variables properly updated, especially the environment variable path. That being said, make sure you are really comfortable with the path environment variable. It is very, very important for you to comfortably work in Linux based environment.